Hey guys, Brian Davis here from Spark Rentals. Super glad that you are joining us today. And joining me today is Mike Stohler, who's the co-founder of the Richer Geek. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Glad to be on.
Well, I'm excited to have you on because you have a background that's unlike most of the guests that we have on the show, and certainly unlike my expertise or Denny's expertise. So, as you guys join us, let us know where you're tuning in from, what your questions are for Mike, and we'll try to cover these. And uh, Mike, let's kick things off by just starting at the very beginning. How
hmm
you got started in real estate investing.
Yeah, it's a great question. We're from small town Indiana, and we wanted to get out. Kind of do something a little bit better. And as everyone picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad and said, "Oh, this must be it."
The little purple book.
The little purple book, and we got started. I called PG, which is the pre-Google days, pre-internet days. So I couldn't Google how to be a landlord. The buying the homes and the rentals, and we ended up having 8 rentals. That's the easy part. How to become a landlord and what to do, all the notices, just everything. I had no clue. And boy, within a year, failed miserably.
I know how
And
that goes.
oh my gosh, because you just, what do we do? How do we do it? And we gave them all back. Sold our house, had to move in with my wife's parents. I'm a complete, utter disappointment and failure, and just dejected. And years went by, and both of us were like, we can't give this up. We've got to figure it out. So got back into it, and I said, you know what? Now there's Google. Now there's ways. And I actually went to work for a little bit with the property management group to learn how to do it. And I took that, and then I started out and bought a single family home, then a fourplex, then churned it 8plex, then 28plex, then the 50plex, and on and on and on and on. And to the point where I quit my regular job and said, you know what, I can actually do this. And I ended up owning and managing around 1,500 doors. And then I was getting these unsolicited, I'm out in Arizona, so I was getting these unsolicited offers of crazy prices for my apartment complexes. And to the point where 2 or 3 offers later, I was like, I'd be a fool if I didn't do this. So I ended up selling. And the thing is, we're getting 4 cap rates, 3.5, 4.5% cap rates. I was like, now what do I do? I don't want to buy something at another 4.5 cap.
Right.
Well, as your listeners know, it's all about mentorship. It's all about networking. It's all about getting involved in the local area networking groups. And I happened to come across a guy that had about 25 years experience in the hotel business. And I approached him and said, I have nothing to do with hotels, don't know anything about it. I'm going to make you a JV partner, give you something on the back end, teach me how to do hotels, find me one, teach me, and then we can become partners. And that was the beginning of the transition into hotels. And now we own several hotels, love it. We're getting ready to do 3 builds within the next couple of years, ground up builds, and most of those are going to be either some type of a JV agreement or syndication.
Well, Mike, you covered a lot of ground there in a very
I
short
did.
period of time. So let's rewind a little bit. So you hit rock bottom with the initial round
Oh,
of single family rental
yeah.
properties. I know how that goes myself. I was fortunate not to have to move in with my in-laws, but I did have to. I took a loss on most of my first dozen properties that I bought,
Yep.
and some of those losses, ended up happening many years later. But it was negative cash flow, and ended up losing hundreds of thousands of dollars total.
Mhm.
When there was all said and done, it was quite painful and I mean, painful financially, painful
Yeah.
emotionally. It's hard on your ego. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, I certainly understand where you're coming from there. So you got back into it a little bit later. You started with a single family home, and then you went to
Mhm.
a fourplex. How did you make that transition from the fourplex to the larger commercially uh, zoned property?
Yeah.
Because that's a tricky transition for a lot of new
It is.
investors.
It is. It was very tricky, and once we started getting into the some of the larger ones, I had the fourplex, fixed it up, just kind of sold it, and then was able to get like a 7 or 8 plex, and then it got started getting a little bit trickier because then the great, this was like 2010, 2011.
Good time to
uh
buy.
Great time to buy, but the banks weren't lending.
Right.
So then I went to this 28 unit, and what was happening in the commercial with multifamily at that time, it could be 100% occupied, it could be cash flowing, but if his or her balloon payment came up, their 5 year, if they bought at the height of the market, 2006, 2007, you know what, 2012, that balloon, that 5 year note is up,
Right.
and then now they owe 800,000 more than what it's worth on paper, even though it's cash flowing. So these people didn't know what to do. It's like, man, I have this asset and I can't do anything with it. So I went in with the 28 unit and actually did seller financing,
Ah,
and did paid off what he was the difference. Did it for a 3 year seller financing note, and the end of the 3 years, then the pandemic was, or not pandemic, but the whole recession was over, and I was able to get funding. And then it was fix that up, sell it. I was doing everything by myself, and then I went from 20 unit to a 50 unit, and then it was just on and on and on.
so you didn't have any like limited partners or anything like that. It was
None.
just you and your personal money.
Yep.
Those are big properties to buy with just personal cash. Yeah, I
Yeah, it
guess.
was. It
Yeah, it
was, but
helps to have a
it's
high
just
income
helps
when
to
you're
have a
doing
high
this.
income, and there's other ones in there. So I was just selling them off and then saving the down payment. Maybe I needed 100,000, or a couple 100,000 of my own, along with that 1031 exchange, and it just kind of built up and built up and built up. And then I got to the point where on one of my complexes, I had for 10 months and made a little over $1 million net in
Wow,
10
in
months
10
on it.
months.
And it was just like the timing of when I was buying it at 8 and 9 caps to when, man, I mean, everyone out in California, everyone was buying everything sight unseen. And they were just, I was like, going, I have to sell it, but what am I going
Yeah.
to do? And then it just kept happening to the different ones. And that's when I was like, I have to get something that is better. The hotels were now at 10 plus cap rates. If you look at it that way, we really don't look at cap rates with businesses, but if you did, it would be about a 10 cap, 11 cap.
So, what was your first exposure to hotels? I mean, where did you get the initial idea to exit multifamily and enter
Mhm.
the hotel space?
Well, the idea was I thought at that time these people are fools for buying my complexes for this amount of money.
Yeah, the 3.5 cap or something,
And I'm like,
super
going,
compressed like
that's
that.
stupid. I would never buy these properties for that
Right.
compression. But then I was like, and I'm going to have to be someone else's fool. And now it becomes a speculation, because now the cap rates are starting to get lower than the interest rates, and you're now speculating on whether or not you can make money long term. So I was like, what other asset do I want to do? Self storage? Do I want to do this? And I was like, going, you know what? It would be kind of cool to go sit at my own hotel bar and have a drink.
That would be
know?
cool. I
I
like
was like,
that
going, so
concept.
there's kind of like this ego of, I kind of like to have a hotel. It's a business, and I want to go into my hotel and be the boss, and be able to run it and be able to just experience that, the type of business. Because I was really, really, really getting tired of tenants.
I
I
understand that.
used to love people, but now it's like I just can't stand people. I'm being that, being facetious a little bit, but it's just like, God, if I never see another tenant in my life.
Yeah, property
uh,
management can make you very jaded and very
it
cynical.
very jaded, and people take advantage of you. And,
Yep.
and I like the hotels where it's like, hey, you're here for a night or two and get out.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think that's why so many people like Airbnb investing too, as
Mhm.
opposed to long-term rental
You
investing.
do,
It's a lot easier
absolutely.
to deal with short-term guests. Yes, they can come with their own problems. You could throw a big party in your property and so forth. But at the end of the day, they're gone pretty quickly and they don't become a long-term headache for you.
Yeah. Exactly, and the type of hotels that we usually deal with are limited service, where you get the free internet, the free breakfast, and then you're gone. It's more of a transient type of hotel, which we like.
So the idea to invest in hotels really was just I mean, it sounds like it was almost a whim. Like, you know,
Yeah,
what would be more fun than having a drink at my own hotel bar? Like,
it
but
was, plus the cap rates and the fact that I knew a person that I could lean on. As your
well, that
listeners
helps.
know, it's all about mentorship. Don't I would never have bought a hotel without that JV partner teaching me, and took me through the process of from buying it to running it, and he's still operating it. You know,
So is this someone that you knew previously, and that's what
Mhm.
helped give you that idea, or did you
Yeah,
seek this
he's just
person out?
just a network guy. It was um, a broker friend of mine's friend, and they did an intro call,
Okay.
and we met, at a place, and I said, "Look, this is what I have. I have the money. I need to identify something now because I'm getting ready to sell these complexes. I have the money. I'll give you the property management fee plus something on the back end if you do this and teach me. Give him an incentive."
And could you do? I know you did 1031 exchanges with your previous properties. Were you
Yep.
able to roll that forward into a hotel?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still real estate. It's still, even though hotels are businesses, it's still within the real estate world. I could have rolled it into hotels, self storage, RV parks. It's still kind of like a real estate type of a thing. What I could not do is go out and buy a Ferrari and a Van Gogh, and all
Right.
those type. Those are a different type of investment. So it's still like kind from multifamily to hotels. Absolutely.
Okay, so you started asking around people
Hmm.
real estate brokers, and asking, hey, can you connect me with someone who is an expert in hotel investing space? You found a mentor that way, um, and you negotiated with them a JV deal where they get a
Hmm.
piece of the action in exchange for mentoring you through the deal. So tell us what happened after that.
Yeah, and then at first I was like going, why is he picking this hotel that's outside of this area, and da da da, and the learning experience of the growth, just knowing how to do hotels and where you put them and what works, whether it's an urban hotel or outside of a small town, just those drive factors. And so what happened was we buy it, and then I'm like thrown into the fire. I'm like, my gosh, it takes 7 or 8 months to close these deals, and you have to get pre-approved with the franchise. If it's a choice hotel, they aren't just going to let some random person own a hotel and give their hotel a bad name. So there's all that negotiations. There's 30 or 40 different vendors that you deal with, from breakfast foods to the silverware, just to the ink. I mean, just everything. So it's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? This is now a business. I
It's a
have
business, yeah.
I have 18 employees now that I have to take care of. And how do we work the software? I mean, just all this sort of stuff, the reservation systems and the third parties. So it threw me into the fire, but it was fun. I had gotten to the point with all these multifamily, I was getting lazy. I was just going to collecting, going to the properties once a month, saying hi to the property managers, the on-site managers. I was golfing, so I was getting lazy. It was a good life.
Yeah, you weren't
But
working at this point. You had quit your full-time job.
I had quit my full-time job, and I was just waiting for the money to roll in, with the multifamily. It was a good life. Um, wow. I was like going, okay, I just got sucked back into an 80-hour a week job,
Right.
basically running this one hotel and helping to run it. So it was a transition that was just like, okay, here we go. And then I just started falling in love with it. It was so fun learning the business side, that I wanted to punish myself and keep it going and buy more.
All right. Okay. So you enjoyed running a hospitality business, which, yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it very much is a business like any other, and you have to
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the learning curve is extremely sharp. So how did you go from that first hotel to buying more?
Well, I got the hotel and I had experience and I had a couple years of learning, then I was like, okay, let's keep this going. And so I decided to learn how to do syndications and just started looking around and got a broker that had 20, 25 years hospitality experience. And they kind of taught me through these different things. So there's no training. There's no one out there where you can go, this is how you buy hotels. Like there are multifamilies and fix and flips and
Right.
short-term rentals. There's nothing like that. Matter of fact, people are wanting me to actually start these, how do you transition from multifamily to hotel type seminars? And, whether or not I have time in the future to do that. But what I did is like, I just wanted to scale the business. So I started doing syndications. And um, the last one I bought was unfortunately 2019, fall of 2019, right before
Yeah.
COVID. So I'm like going, oh my God, here we go again. It's like, what did I just do? Um, but you learn during the hardships. You don't learn when you're sitting fat on the hog, right?
Right.
So um, had that one, and then within our group we had another hotel in Georgia that burned to the ground um, through a cigarette. They kind of threw it on the ground,
Oh wow.
and all the pine straw in Georgia burnt the whole place down. But that was it. It's just like let's keep this going. Um, I had the experience, so I had where people would trust me with their money, and with hospitality, and it's great. It's fun. It's challenging. They're completely different type of, like the two we have here in so far in Arizona. They're different. One's in a business park, um, kind of a higher end. It's in an HOA. It's in this really nice area, close to all these big fab industrial and park. And the other one's small town off the highway, type of a thing, with truck driver parking, and so they're completely different types of hotels, even though they're both limited service. But that's how I got started. I was like, well, I need to. I had all these multifamily, so let's scale it with the hotels also. So let's just keep it going. And now I'm being approached by some developers that want me to actually build some hotels. So it's just getting your name out there.
So I have to ask, what did happen with that property that you bought in 2019, right before
Yeah,
the pandemic?
yeah. Well, as soon as they, how it worked. As soon as they quit spring training, stopped, and the NBA just all of a sudden said nope, and I'm like going, oh crap. Okay, this must be real, because I was thinking, it's just the flu. As soon as it gets warm, it's everyone's expectations of what it was. But we went down to 8% occupancy.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard time for hotels.
Very hard time. Luckily, and I'm not going to be political, but luckily our hotels are in states that didn't force us to shut down. And to tell people, if they're looking at different multifamily and also hotels and any type of asset, I now have another buying criteria post COVID, because now I have something like COVID, the pandemic, to look back on, is what will the state do to me if COVID 2.0 happens?
Right,
Will they force me? They don't care if I can afford the mortgage. They don't care if if the bank doesn't give me a deferment. They're just saying, nope, you can no longer be a business for 2 months or a year.
right,
Do I want to be forced that way? So luckily, the hotels were in what I call freer states, where they gave me the choice. So all of our hotels stayed open, and then I was like, okay, we're going to shut the top two down, top two floors, the top three floors. We're now going to be turn off all the HVACs, all the systems. We're now going to be X amount of room hotel. If the vendor or the product didn't wasn't necessary for the existence of the hotel, they were all gone. So we
right.
basically, it was just a shell of a hotel. And then we went out and looked, changed our marketing, changed our sales, And the best thing that ever happened to us was California shut down, and they shut down everything. So we actually had travel teams that were in the same neighborhoods, 2 miles apart from each other. They were soccer, or volleyball. They actually had to. They weren't allowed to even play outdoor sports in California. Uh, so they actually drove to Arizona and played each other for 2 days, and then drove back to California, which, and they're two miles apart from each other. So we changed all these different things. Regis's were closed down, so I was like, going, hey, how about for $50 a night or $50 a day, uh, we became uh, an office for people that had to stay at home because they couldn't go into work. Free coffee. You have a free desk in our room. You can shower if you want, take a nap. So we just kind of expanded and looked outside the box.
Yeah, and that I think that was the pandemic was a perfect time for creative people to shine in that regard. Where if you were willing to think outside the box a little bit, offer something
Hmm.
that your competitors aren't doing, there were opportunities there. But you had to be a little creative with it.
Hmm.
So what are you guys? You're syndicating hotel deals right now. Do you accept non-accredited investors in your
No,
hotel syndication?
not right.
No, so
No,
just
not right now,
accredited.
because I just don't. We don't need to, and I don't need the headache of 1,000 investors. Our last syndication, I had 7 investors and raised $1.8 million with 7 people, and those 7 people were, hey, it'd be cool to be into hotels. These are people that syndicated in multifamily, and it's kind of like that cool factor. It's like, oh, I want to go and stay at my own hotel also.
Yeah,
The investors are that way too. I want to say that I own a piece of a hotel. And a lot of my investors say, because it's a little sexier, I guess, saying that you own
sure.
hotels. So I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, it takes, you know. Um, so accredited investors, they're usually minimum $50,000 to get in. And well, I always say that, hotels are patient capital, especially here in Arizona. You have seasonal um, occupancy. During the summer, it's right now what, 115 degrees down in
Right.
Phoenix. you know, uh, you'd be insane to say, let's go vacation in Arizona right now. Um, so we just, we kind of batten down the hatches, and they're usually 7-year holds because it's a business. I can't put lipstick on a hotel and usually flip it.
Right.
You can, but it's harder because it's a business. It takes several years to kind of get the ADR, get the expenses, maybe change the franchise, look at all you can do to increase the gross revenues,
Right.
so you can position it to sell it. And especially if I do a new build, our next 3 are going to be ground ups. What's going to take just the permitting is going to take almost a year. Then it's going to take a year and a half to 2 years to even build it, and then a year to say, hey, to the world that we're here. So that first distribution may be several years down the road.
Right.
But because of the cap rates and the distribution and the fact that we can do uh, X times your initial investment, a lot of people like that. And a lot of people that invest with us have enough money to where they don't really need cash distributions. They just want a diversification, somewhere safe to hold it.
No, that makes sense. And what kind of annualized returns, are you aiming for with these hotel deals?
Yeah, the IRR is around 12 to 15%.
Okay.
Um, and you can afford that just because of the gross revenues. What's great about the hotels that people may not realize is with multifamily, let's say it's $1,000 a month for a 12-month lease. The same amount of rooms or keys for a hotel, I'm at $150 a night every night. And then if something comes in, it's $250 a night. So I can change my rent, so-called rent, 4 times a day. It's kind of like the gas station where you drive past and the amount's
Make,
always changing. It's
right.
because it's dynamic pricing, and that's why we grow so much more than multifamily. Um, but one, we have preferred returns of 12%, and
Oh
then
wow.
on the last one, we're we're offering through the pro forma, we're looking about 2.5 times your return, your initial investment on a return once it's sold. To give you an idea, one of the hotels we bought for just under 5 million, we're getting offers right now for 11. Um,
That's
so
fantastic.
we'll take it, and a lot of people are coming at us and say, "Hey, can we convert it to assisted living?" Because the aging population is so big, and certain type of hotels are perfect for assisted living facilities.
Yeah, no, the silver tsunami is very real,
Mhm.
and that will be an opportunity for a lot of different types of investments over the next decade or two, especially like you said, assisted living.
Yeah.
So, if people are interested in investing with you or in maybe learning from you for hotel investing, how can they connect with you?
Sure. You can go on our podcast. We have one. It's called TheRicherGeek.com, and you can look up different episodes, and where my wife and I, she'll interview me, and we'll talk hotels. It's kind of a fun thing that we do. Our website is Gateway, P is in private, E is in equity. GatewayPE.com is the website, and you can look at our portfolio, and you can look at the things that we do, and sign up to learn more about what you can do and when we open up the next offer.
Oh, Mike, it's fascinating. I love what you guys are doing, and it's a great way to diversify outside of the traditional multifamily
Right.
and God forbid, single family types of investments.
Yep.
So I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show,
Yep.
and
You're
yeah,
welcome.
we hope to have you back soon and to tell us about how those 3 ground up hotel builds are coming
Yeah.
along.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well, guys, please rate and review the show if you enjoy these conversations. It's a big help to us. We appreciate it. And stay in touch. Support at sparkrental.com. Let us know what you want to hear about in the weeks to come. And we will catch you on the flip side.